How Do I Music? A podcast by Well Nice Music.
The truth is, it is not a glamorous job. It is not like as much as you are able to kind of come out at the end of something with a link to something that's presumably well written and looks nice and has great pictures, and maybe it's with a famous person. The amount of work and like just dog's body stuff that goes into getting that to that point is far outweighs the kind of moment you get to celebrate.
It's How Do I Music, and it's your favourite day of the week, whatever day you're listening, because you're listening. That is right. This week we're chatting to David Renshaw, UK news editor at The Fader. He's been covering music journalism for over a decade, working his way up from student papers in Liverpool through Gigwise and NME before landing at The Fader, and that's where he is today. We get into the proper nitty-gritty of music journalism, how his inbox gets hammered with about 400 emails a day, why most pitches in those emails are probably rubbish. I'm saying that, not him. And what actually makes him want to write about something. He's also got solid advice on finding stories that nobody else is covering, and tells us why 3-star reviews are completely pointless. Follow us on How Do I Music. It's at How Do I Music on Instagram and socials. Other socials are available too, but we're mainly on Instagram. And check out wellnicemusic.com for more episodes and more on what we do with our roster of quality independent artists. Hope you enjoy the episode. Name and occupation.
David Renshaw, music journalist.
Last time music moved you, made you cry or dance?
I don't dance that often, realistically, but last time I went out to a Charlie XCX club night in London. Just basically played Brat about 4 times in a row, and it was a lot of fun.
Great. All-time favourite album?
I'm so bad at this, but the one I always go back to just as a kind of perfect album that kind of really opened world to me was The Strokes, Is This It?
Last song you listened to?
I've just been writing about a band called Honey Glaze, their album Real Deal. So it'd be something off that. I really like that album.
Explain what you do in 3 words.
Write about music.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's kind of basic, but I think if I could add one more word in, it would, or like just another thing, I would kind of say, put music in context.
Tell us about you then. Can you tell us, obviously it's amazing what you do now, working at The Fader, covering a wide range of not just music, we should say as well. There's, it's sometimes film and culture as well. Mm-hmm. But how did you begin your journey? Were you one of these failed musicians who turned into a journalist later on, or have you always wanted to be a journalist first? Tell us about the story from kid to now.
Yeah, okay. So I'm proud to say I cannot play a single instrument nor carry a note. I have never ever wanted to be a musician. The idea of it kind of makes me want to die inside. So no, I'm not a failed musician. I weirdly always wanted to do journalism. When I was really young, I was a huge football fan, and I wanted to write about football. And when I was like genuinely like 9 years old, applied for a job at the local newspaper because it became available. And being precocious, or maybe just stupid, didn't realize that was not available to me. So yeah, it was always like when I was into a thing, I wanted to write about it. So first it was football, then kind of as I got up to about teenage years, became music, and was always kind of very keen to write about music, but didn't really know how or what to do. And this was kind of slightly pre-internet era. It was not, I'm not as old as that makes me sound, but like it wasn't a time when you could just start writing and blogging and that kind of thing. It was
yeah, sure.
A little bit earlier. So I was like, what I need to do, go to university, because student newspaper was the thing. And that was like, that's how I'm going to get my in, because they're not going to want experience or proof that I've done this before. It's just kind of like entry level thing. So went to university in Liverpool, started writing for the magazines for both universities there, which was a thing you could do at the time.
Yeah.
So John Moores, where I was a student, and also the Liverpool University. And just from there, but kind of picked to go to university in Liverpool, predominantly because it was a music city, and I knew that that's where people would go on tour. I could go see shows. I'm from North Yorkshire, Scarborough town on the seaside.
So you were writing at this time about not university bands. We're talking there. You were still writing about bigger scale live gigs or bands that were coming to the city.
Yeah, so it was a time when people would come on tour. I saw one of the early Arctic Monkeys tours at that time. I remember doing interviews with people like local but successful bands like the Zootons.
Nice.
And then, there was obviously like newer people coming through, people like the Wombats were a new band around that time. I'm dating myself quite significantly here. But so, that was kind of what I wanted to be a part of, to be a thing where I could see the new, like I could be part of a local scene, but also have the big things that were coming through and people going on tour and that kind of thing. But it was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted and what I needed. And so while I was there was also a website, which is still running, I believe, called Gigwise.
Yeah.
They were located in the city. They were a Liverpool-based company. And I would go in and do work experience, just like the odd day or two, write reviews, write news stories, open envelopes, that kind of thing. And so towards the end of my third year at university, they left and moved to London. I graduated, spent a year at home trying to find work in journalism from North Yorkshire in London. Didn't work. Spoiler alert.
Tough.
Don't try that as a model. It won't work.
Did you study journalism at university?
No, I studied creative writing. So sort of like scripts and poetry and things that realistically haven't helped me directly in my career, but I think just as a way of like expressing yourself, getting words on a page is like the biggest thing, the hardest part of this job. And that really did teach me a lot of ways of going about that. So it definitely had an impact. Gigwise moved to London. Yeah. I followed them basically after a year of trying to find work, got a job with them, moved down here, started working there for a few years, was like deputy editor on Gigwise for a bit, they were always like launching different websites and stuff. So I worked across them. There's a little network of things. And then a job at Enemy came available.
Nice.
And that's when I moved. I'm really bad with years, but I would guess this was around 10, 12 years ago now.
Yeah, sure.
Moved to Enemy. I was the news reporter. So it was like a small team of 3 of us on the news desk working between the magazine and the website. So it'd be like
just 3 people at Enemy.
Oh no, sorry. This was on news. There was features and the editor and everyone. I guess the team was a lot bigger than Gigwise. It was, I guess, all in about 20 of us.
For someone who doesn't know the structure of, Enemy are massive. Can you do a quick breakdown of how that works? How the different sections of something so big like this? How many people are we looking at?
Yeah. Well, like I said, this was a while ago, so it's probably, I believe it's definitely different. But in my time, there was like 3 of us on news, 3 people whose job was just the website, kind of like website editor, deputy editor, and like a staff writer kind of role. Then you'd have a couple of people doing the reviews section. So making sure every album was in, we'd listen to it. It was assigned to the correct writer, coming in on deadline for being published in the release week, and also live reviews as well. So what's going on, who's on tour, where's the first show, and a features editor as well. So that would be the person setting up interviews, sending people out to LA to interview someone, or being like, this band is in London, we need to go and find them in their house or whatever, just all that kind of thing. So how many people is that? Like 3, 6, 10 plus the editor on just the purely writing side of things. And then you've got like production and all of those kind of people who obviously play a huge role. But Yeah, so I would say there's between 10 and 12 of us core people in the office every day.
And then you moved on from Enemy. What followed after Enemy immediately? What was the next step?
So I went straight from Enemy to the Fader. I've essentially done the same job my entire life, just for different people. So yeah, I went about 8 years ago now, went to the Fader, it's a New York-based company. They had set up a London office a few years prior with a small team. There was only 2 other people when I joined the editorial team for Fader in London. There was much more in New York, but in London there was 3 of us. I worked with Owen Myers and Amy Cliff, who are both fantastic writers and editors. And I just worked alongside them and as part of the bigger global team. And I've been there ever since. And there's been an awful lot of changes and ups and downs, but it's been great. I've really, really enjoyed it. I feel very kind of fortunate to have had the path I've had and to have kept doing it for so long as well.
What is your daily routine at work? How does it look when you get up and go into the office? Are you still going into the office? How does it work?
Yeah, so no, the office that I joined when I first started at Fader, we kind of closed about 5 years ago, pre-pandemic. The current Fader editorial team is made up of people in New York, people in Toronto, people in LA, and myself in London. We've had people working in Sydney as well, Melbourne, sorry.
Yeah.
So it's a real global thing, but it's all remote. So I mean, like the bulk of my day is spent either writing or thinking about what I'm going to write, and that kind of sounds maybe a bit of a obvious thing to say, but it kind of never stops. There's never a day when I'm always listening to music. I'm always thinking about music. I'm trying to work out what I want to say with a particular piece that I might be working on. I'm thinking about. I'm looking. Part of going online is research. That sounds like the biggest kind of lie ever told, but it's partly true. Like, you have to be part of the conversation. You can't kind of. I don't believe you can kind of engage in writing about music if you're not broadly aware of how people are talking about it. So.
Yeah. Well, it's bigger than just how good it sounds in your ears. It's a cultural phenomenon. The impact it's actually having within communities and
exactly.
It's an important part of the narrative.
And when I said that I kind of think of my job as putting music in context, I think so much of it is kind of you can hear something and it sounds great, but where does it fit in, and who else is doing this kind of thing, and are they doing it better, and or everything has to kind of like make sense in the grand scheme of things.
Do you tend to try and get a grasp of the impact of something culturally before you write about it? Because I guess there's an argument that could shape your view of how it sounds to you and create some biases before you've even begun listening. So how do you approach that? Do you try and go, right, I don't want to hear any of the noise, and I want to go into blank canvas, or are you able to go and be pretty objective regardless of how much noise you've heard?
Yeah, I think it's hard. If you were asked to write about Coldplay, it's very hard to kind of go into something like that with no, even, I mean, I'm not going to get into my views on Coldplay.
Hot take.
No, but it's not even hot. But I guess the hot take is they're underrated at this point.
Oh yeah, okay, I see. It's gone full circle.
Yeah. But do you know what I mean? Like there's a certain level of artists that it's very hard to remove yourself from the cultural context of what they do and who they are. And there's other people where you can almost exaggerate what there is. Like I'm very guilty of reading kind of 4 tweets about an album and being like, oh, people hate this album, and it's like, no, for 4 people maybe don't like it. So
yeah, sure.
It's a case of realizing where the conversation is avoidable and unavoidable.
How busy is your inbox? Someone like you who's working at the Fader, is it physically possible to get to all the music you've pitched? And also, I'm interested to hear what are the best and worst pitches that someone like you could possibly receive. Talk to me about that process and how many people you actually have time for, and how can someone catch your attention if they're listening and want some tips from that side of things.
I'm not going to fall into the trap of being the journalist who moans about his inbox. I know that guy. I don't want to be him.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry. I'll answer your question. I get in the region of 300, maybe 400 emails a day. That is a combination of just press releases, which are essentially, sent to everyone, and then more personalized kind of email sent to me, largely asking if I've seen the press release that was sent out earlier in the day. I try my best to respond to as many as I can. I could say, if anyone is listening to this who has emailed me and hasn't had a reply, I promise you I've read it, and I promise you I feel guilty for not replying. I'm not dismissive of it at all, and I really try and listen to the vast majority of what I get sent. So it's a case of, it's almost like my inbox is a huge source of information and music and everything to me, and I kind of get a lot from it. I'm just quite bad at replying to things, especially because a lot of the time the answer is like, no, we're not able to cover this because there's just not enough hours in the day or enough space on the website. But it doesn't mean I don't like it. But also justifying why I like this but I can't write about it is a hard thing to find the words for sometimes. So that's kind of my position with emails. In terms of pitches that I am open to and less open to, I think personally I'm not a big fan of the kind of pitch where it's like very industry led. You often get pitches where it's like, they're managed by this person, they're playing this festival, and I'm like, it's not that I don't care. That information is important, and I do definitely think about it. But when the pitches come where that's the lead, like, the number of streams, for example, like to me is pretty irrelevant.
Yeah.
What I care about is why this thing is different, why it stands out, why people need to hear this ahead of the huge queue of music that is released every single day, week, month. And I think a lot of music that gets released at the moment, by which I mean kind of the last few years, is it begins to feel quite repetitive. You kind of see one artist emerge and then 50 people in their wake who are essentially doing the same thing.
Sure.
And I'm kind of like, I always want to know, I don't want to hear about someone who's in that queue. I want to hear about someone who's doing their own thing and why it stands out and why because that's what's more interesting to write about. I'm always looking for stories and angles as much as the music being really good, which it should be a given.
Yeah, that's interesting as well, because ultimately you're here for a good story. It might be a review, but you want something that's interesting aside from the fact that it is just good music. Do you ever pick something to write about because you don't particularly like it, and you want to talk about it in the opposite sense, where you think it's interesting but not maybe not so much in a positive light?
Yeah, I think the role of the pan is kind of interesting in the last few years, where it seems kind of to have disappeared almost entirely, apart from on the odd occasion when it's someone who is deemed like can take it. 2-star review of the new Katy Perry album this morning.
Oh yeah, she's been getting so much heat for this comeback. It's quite fun to. I mean, I don't have any strong opinions on her either way, but I think it's fine pop music back in the day. But yeah, seeing how badly this comeback has gone is interesting to see.
I think, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I'm above reading this stuff, and I've written them in the past, and it's a lot more enjoyable to write about why something is bad than something is good. It certainly comes easier. I think what I would like to see more of, though, is people saving that energy for the kind of things that are held up as a bit more sacred cows. Like there are some, I think some people maybe coast on past successes and just a general, these guys seem cool. I know people like them, so I'm not going to really dig into what's going on here with this new album. I'm just going to give it 4 stars and move on.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I think we don't on the Fader, we don't run a huge amount of review style content.
Yeah.
And I don't think we would start and immediately kind of move into panning stuff.
Yeah.
But in general, if I was to be more of a critic than a writer, I'd be, that's what I'd try to do. I'd like to find that kind of real criticism in the areas that you would expect the praise without forcing it, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting because you do find with general music press, because obviously worked on the other side of things where you are pitching people like yourself, and it is becomes standard almost that you won't get a bad review, you just score the publication. And I've had circumstances where maybe you do get a review that is just not very positive, and it's an honest review. And some of the reactions you get in the office now are just completely, well, obviously there's a natural offense taken, but at the same time, it's just unexpected now. And I think that's an interesting place to be, because I don't think that particularly lends itself to interesting stories or interesting takes if everything has to be protected and said nicely.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the worst thing in the world is a 3-star review. It's pointless. Like, if I was in charge of a magazine, if it was 20 years ago and this kind of thing happened and we had a review section, I think I would ban 3-star reviews. And I don't mean you can't give something 3 stars. It's just like, if you want to give, if we decide this is a 3-star album, it doesn't get mentioned, because it's. I think you need to be pushing people in the direction of good music and directing them away from the stuff that you've deemed not worthwhile.
Sure.
And that middle ground is very. I'm not sure what purpose that's really serving.
What's the favorite story that you've covered, or what's a favorite story? Maybe picking the one is a bit harsh. Do you have any that come to mind?
Like recently, I did a profile of a hardcore band called Speed that I really enjoyed writing. It's one of the bigger things I published this year. I spent some time with the band. They played a show in London, and I hung out with them and went to the show. And what I really wanted to write, like for the past few years, the kind of hardcore scene has really had an upturn in energy and kind of focus on it, especially I think off the back of what happened with that band Turnstile, kind of really blew up a few years ago. Crossed over and ended up with Grammy nominations and this kind of thing. So I was kind of, what I wanted to do was write about a scene and a band in particular at the same time. And I really wanted to kind of get on the ground floor and kind of see what's going on in, especially with a scene like hardcore, where it's so much about the live performance and the energy at those shows. So yeah, I was happy to really kind of get to dig into what they're doing. That it is very different. It's certainly not like jumping off the back of what Turnstile did, but just I think that band really opened eyes to that section of the kind of heavy music world. And Speed are fantastic. They're an amazing band. Their new album is really just incredible, and the live show is unbelievable. And I felt like my job on that day was really just capturing the energy of what was going on in the show, and really kind of getting the message of where hardcore is at right now through the lens of this one band, Speed, who are real advocates for the genre and real kind of diehard spokespeople for the music in general. So yeah, that was I was really happy about that, because it was something I'd kind of been wanting to cover in a way that felt in depth but didn't feel kind of too much like I don't know what the word would be, but yeah, it's I think I was quite happy with how it turned out, and it felt like something that's always been on the back of my mind. Like how are we going to write about this scene, especially with Fader, because Fader's not we cover a lot of bands, but we're certainly not a hardcore specialist publication. We're not Kerrang, we're not any of those kind of people. So
sure,
you're kind of having to adjust your lens a little bit and kind of think, how do we introduce this whilst also, how do we introduce this to a casual reader whilst not selling short someone who has followed this band or this scene for decades and really wants to learn something new as well. And striking that balance is tricky. And I kind of felt we got somewhere close to doing that. So that's probably a piece I was most recently happy with.
That's an interesting topic, really. How much do you think about what you do out of taste and what you cover out of taste versus what you think your reader wants?
I've always tried to pitch and write the things I want to read. Yeah. I'm like, I want to read this. No one's written it. That's what I will do. I will kind of write this piece. So in that sense, my taste and the audience, the kind of readers, should be one and the same.
Yeah.
I certainly don't have like hugely alternative, underground, esoteric tastes. I listen to lots of music. I listen to lots of, from like people with millions of fans to people with brand new things that nobody's heard. And like, but I think the through line with it all is that I can imagine there's an audience for this. I'm not kind of, losing my mind at Cafe Otto and 10-hour jazz sets or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I've always been like acutely aware of what readers want, but I've always felt that my taste was very much aligned with that as well.
We're going to have a tradition on the podcast that every guest recommends another potential guest that might be attainable, might not be attainable, but it's fun to see. Who else do you think has a good story to tell and who'd be worth talking to, who's had an interesting career like yourself?
I've just profiled a band called Julie, who are a kind of new shoegazy band, and there's so much of this stuff going on. So to have something that is both old and new at the same time, it's got a great story, and the music is just brilliant. Like this song, Penny for Love, I've been listening to it a lot recently, and to me, that's kind of like the perfect, not only a great song, but a great story. And it was a really good interview as well. They were fantastic. One of the drummer is now a lawyer at Warner's. Maybe he would be good for your podcast. He probably knows a lot of stuff. But the truth is, it is not a glamorous job. It is not, like, as much as you are able to kind of come out at the end of something with a link to something that's presumably well written and looks nice and has great pictures, and maybe it's with a famous person. The amount of work and like just dog's body stuff that goes into getting that to that point is far outweighs the kind of moment you get to celebrate it. So it's not a job, in terms of, I don't know about a specific incident, sort of like anecdotes, but like I've never done the thing. I've never been like followed someone on tour. I've never really I got paid one time to travel to do an interview, and that was to go to Brighton when I was in London. Like I'm not really like jet setted around the world and hung out with people and that kind of thing. In terms of like the less glamorous side of it, I'd have to say that 99% of my life is spent at my desk, going through my inbox, listening to things, writing pitches, and trying to write the piece. Like the glamorous thing is getting to chat to people. I love talking to people. I love doing interviews. That if I could have my way, the whole process would end when I hang up the Zoom call or turn my dictaphone off. But then, the hard part is when you have to start writing it. And I can only speak personally. I often find it very difficult. Like I kind of really kind of toil over it a lot of the time. In terms of things not going well, you do kind of feel like you're in competition with other people, not personally, but just, you'll do research and you'll read a feature with someone that you're about to interview, and you're like, well, how am I going to top that? That's like the best thing I've read in years. And that's hard.
Yeah.
And then other times when you've done an interview and then you've got it ready to go, and then someone else publishes theirs.
That must be so annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even that it's a race, but it's just like you're always kind of keen to do the best you can and be the best, have the best kind of take on this artist or album or moment or whatever it may be that you're writing about. So yeah, that's kind of, I'd say the less glamorous side is just the just the job.
The writing.
It's like doing the work.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I've never been part of things that they've never, like, with I guess the counter argument to that is I've never had a moment where something's gone disastrously wrong. Something's really kind of, I think the worst thing I could say is that, you have something that you think is going to be great and then the people don't want to do the interviews, or don't want to speak, or they're not really keen on it. Or, you get your pitch rejected, which is hard. Like, pitching is one of the worst things. I'm quite fortunate in that I work with one editor and my pitches are generally okay. But I've spent time pitching freelance stuff and it's really hard. You think you've got a great idea, especially when you become financially more dependent on it. Yeah. And to just have it batted straight back to you, often within 5 minutes and quite briskly, it's painful. So
that's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, there are negative parts of this.
Obviously, we both work within music. We've all witnessed what's happened to a lot of companies and the staff that work for them as journalists. Where do you see the future of journalism in its written form going? Is this a cause for concern going forward? Do you think this is a wave? Like, what's your insights on the current state of affairs and where it's going? Is it as gloomy as it feels sometimes?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big question. It's a good question. So yeah, it's not great. It's hard. I think in terms of the written form, I don't know how much longer that's got, and that's not a reflection on the writing or even necessarily people's desire to read about music. Yeah. It's just the kind of basic economics of where it's published and how you make money online. The kind of old model of publish X amount of articles, get a certain amount of views equals X amount of money doesn't really work anymore. And that money has been hoovered up by Google and social media, and the kind of move towards those platforms, you can't get the depth and nuance of a 10,000 word feature in a TikTok or an Instagram video. And that's not a knock on those.
Of course.
God knows I consume enough of them, but it's just different. It's just a different model, different method, different result. So I don't know. I think the thing that kind of I always get hung up on, because I try not to be too down about it, and there's still loads of great journalists being published every single day. Like, you can go online right now and find something I'm sure amazing that was being published, just like the Chapel Roan Rolling Stone cover that was published earlier this week. Amazing. Yeah. My thing is, like, there's more music than ever. And I understand that people have got instant access to it. And that in some ways negates the need for journalists, because in the olden days, music journalist was a gatekeeper in a positive sense. I've already heard everything. Here's what you should go listen to and spend your £10 on instead of this. And the model breaks down when everything's available. But in what you get with the streaming age is an overwhelming, unmanageable amount of music to listen to.
Yes.
And I still think that journalists can play that role of, don't waste your time listening to this thing that's going to get served to you by the algorithm. Use that time. Your time is precious. Time is not as abundant as the content online. So use your time wisely and listen to this. And if you've just come across it randomly, as you do, well, maybe you want to know more about that person. Maybe you want to hear about where they're from, what their story is. And yes, you can find it through different social platforms, but also there's a written article that really kind of goes in depth and tells the story in a way that you can't maybe convey with. I do still see that there's a function. It just seems to have not quite carried over in the way I feel like I look at like film critics who seem to wield a huge amount of power in terms of box office, and TV critics who can really kind of push a show like Industry or The Bear or whatever into this upper tier that doesn't reflect their viewership. And music, we seem to have got left behind somehow. I'm not sure how or why, and I wish I had an answer for that, but I do kind of look at other cultural disciplines and kind of think maybe one day we'll reach that point as well, because I think that would be helpful.
It's a really interesting point, and because things have become, Spotify has made things much more song-based as well. Streaming services aren't recommending you albums in the same way a critic would, and a film critic would recommend you a film, and a telly tends to be series. So what Spotify is doing is making people's interest in music much more short form in the song by that recommendation. And I wonder if that's maybe where the difference in people's attention is, that music is given a lot less time in order for you to form your judgment, just by the nature of a song being 3 minutes and a film being an hour and a half.
I think the most damaging thing that streaming did in terms of audience expectations, not like the terrible financial side of it, but in terms of what the audience relationship to music is, it made it a secondary activity. It's something, music to listen to while you cook, music for the gym, music for Sunday mornings. It's like, I love music. I do not sit and listen to music exclusively. I'm not a psychopath. Like, I'm not kind of just staring at a wall and doing this. But at the same time, when music is on, I'm alert to it and I'm listening to it and I want to kind of engage with it. And I think what streaming did, the streaming age has done, is relegate music to something that is happening while you do something else.
Yeah,
and I think that's been quite damaging to how you can kind of write about this stuff, because it's just harder to push it up in terms of importance.
Do you think it would be fair to say that there's a more personality focus on some of the reviewers out there because of social media, because of places like Instagram and TikTok, rather than the words themselves?
Yes, the influencer model has definitely moved into music criticism, and I think it's a good thing. I think someone like Anthony Fantano, not only is he the most popular music journalist in the world, he's the most influential. Like, the amount of people that I see online who talk about and think about music in the way he does, you can just see the DNA in the way that like Gen Z people talk about music. It's not personally the way I relate to it, but I think it's cool. I think in the same way that there's always been influential music journalists, he's the current one, and I don't begrudge him or his fans that at all. So no, I don't. I think they're slightly different. I think you're going to get a different thing from print or written journalism than you are from an online critic. But at the same time, podcasts has been a huge part of the kind of development of how people report and talk about music. Sure. And there's fantastic examples of that, which I think is like a digital development that music journalism has been able to spread into. And I think all of these things, whether it's a podcast, social media, they kind of are relatively, they're kind of molds that you fit into, and you're going to have to kind of adapt to each one that you move into. So podcast is this wide open space where there's time for in-depth storytelling. A YouTube video, maybe less so, because you're expected to meet the certain standards that have been set before you, and music criticism was relatively late to that thing, and so you're kind of following the way that people talk about other things. So I view them as very different, all a mixture of positive and negative things. Like, there's no good or all bad about it, and I think as what I said earlier, if there is this kind of gloomy future for the written word, which may turn out to be the case, and bigger picture, that's just true of everything. Like, it's not exclusive to music journalism. It's good that it proves that music criticism, music thinking about music will endure, because it's always going to find a home in these new spaces.
Yeah, and I think it's positive that we are still finding human reactions and human input and human takes on things as interesting and content worth consuming, because obviously with AI and stuff, there's question marks on the other side of music itself. And as long as there's that human interaction with people sympathizing and empathizing with what is effectively other creatives and other humans, I think that is what the form of how the content is made will always change with technology throughout time and people's attention spans. And I do think that journalists will remain being journalists. It's just the format might change a little bit. Is there a dream project that you have in mind? Is there something that you'd really like to cover and tackle? If money were no object and you could do whatever?
Off the top of my head, I'm kind of thinking, like, it would be amazing to work on someone's biography, like an incredible story of someone that's really kind of a must read, kind of unearthing new information, or similarly a documentary. I think I'm always drawn to those kind of like cult documentaries about musicians who are like off the beaten track, kind of. I know there's a great one about Lawrence from Felt, Searching for Sugar Man is obviously one. These kind of like
classic,
really kind of introducing a musician to a wider audience and kind of getting to tell their story through documentary. Something like, and again, like we're talking about moving into talking about music in different forms. It's all writing, if something's got a script, everyone who gets on YouTube or TikTok and starts talking about music or a song or or what's going on in the world, they're writing it. At some point there is a script or at least an idea and these kind of things. I think as time goes by, you have to kind of think of music journalism as maybe less, I'm opening a Google Doc and I'm going to publish my article. And it's like, I can tell a story. I can use words to get this message across, and then we'll see where it goes afterwards. So like wherever you might be working at the time, it's the same skills. It's just a different endpoint.
So for someone who would be looking to go into music journalism, what are some quick tips?
Okay, so quick tips, I would say, look for what is not being written. Do not, realistically, emailing an editor and saying, we should interview Beyonce and I should be the one to do it. It's not going to get you anywhere. And maybe that's an extreme example, but you know what I mean? Like in general, pitching an interview or a review of something that they are definitely aware of is not, you're at the bottom of the pile, essentially, because you're new, and that's just the reality of it. Look at what's not being written. Is there a story? If you're not in, like, I won't go into this because it's a huge subject, but like incredibly London-centric world. It shouldn't be, but it is, and that's the reality. If you're outside of London, that in a way gives you one advantage, which is you know what's going on where you are. If there's something happening in Newcastle, the editors in London do not know about it. They do not go. They never will go. That's the reality. So tell them about it and tell them why it's important. So that's something I would say, like, look locally, look into niches.
That's great.
And again, that maybe that's slightly old-fashioned, because as much as there is locality in geography, there's locality online. If you are part of a subreddit that is producing incredible things and moving things forward, tell editors about it, because they might not know about it. So really kind of look into the niches and the smaller margins. and avoid the kind of really big things. Like the big stuff will come. Like if you prove yourself to be a good writer, that big stuff will come. But like try and I used to, like a lot of the time when I was starting out, I would look for weird trends. I remember writing about a lot of indie bands having saxophones in their music. This is like 10 years ago or so. But like that was the thing. I was like, all this music's got saxophones in it. Club. Exactly. We should write about this. And that got commissioned. So it's like that kind of thing. And then once the piece gets commissioned, so if you've come up with a novel idea, like something that nobody else has pitched or could write, hit your deadline.
Yeah.
Be open to edits and file clean copy. Don't go over your work. Like these are so basic, but you'd be amazed how many people don't kind of adhere to it and how much it will curry favor for you if you do those things. Just do the job that you've been asked to do. And it definitely increases your chances of getting more work.
We're going to play out with one song at the end of the podcast. Who should we play out to, and why should we listen to it?
Okay, there's a really cool band that I profiled earlier this year called Majesty Crush. Like it was a really cool story of this band who they were around in the kind of 90s. They were meant to be the next big thing. They were signed around the time of like lots of other people who went on to big things, like shoegazy indie dream pop band, and everything, like for various reasons, like probably quite pertinent to this podcast, their sub label that they were signed to within the major system folded. Like they got rid of the A&Rs and everything kind of collapsed, and they never got to release their music properly. And they've developed this kind of cult appeal, and they've become, especially among like the younger kind of shoegaze bands who are coming up now. There's a lot of people citing this band Majesty Crush as an influence, and they've got a song called Penny for Love.
Yeah.
It's off an album that came out called Butterflies Don't Go Away. And that to me, into kind of talking about pitches that I want to hear, that for me was such a fantastic thing to work on, because it's the history of music. You kind of got this like in-depth what was going on in the 90s. They really kind of crossed a lot of like post-Nirvana, end of the 90s kind of thing, like mid-90s stuff.
Yeah.
So you've got this history lesson. You've got industry intrigue as to like they really kind of got dealt a shit hand by the industry, which I know I said earlier in the interview I don't like hearing pitches with like streaming numbers in, but I am obviously interested in what goes on behind the scenes in the industry as well. So to have something that is both old and new at the same time, it's got a great story, and the music is just brilliant. Like the song Penny for Love, I've been listening to it a lot recently, and to me that's kind of like the perfect, not only a great song but a great story. And it was a really good interview as well. They were fantastic.
You're welcome. Cheers to David there. Proper insights about the realities of music journalism and how the industry is constantly changing. His advice about looking for what's not being written rather than pitching the obvious stuff is a good one. And I really enjoyed that Penny for Love song by Majesty Crush as well. Good pick. A band that was meant to be the next big thing in the 90s before everything fell apart. And now they've got this cult following among all these new shoegaze bands. Exactly the kind of story that David loves covering, and he's really good at it too. Please do go check out his work at The Fader. And this is it. At How Do I Music everywhere, and wellnicemusic.com to check out our roster of quality independent music. You know you love it. And until next time, see you, I guess, or hear you, whatever you want to say. Bye.
How Do I Music? A podcast by Well Nice Music.